Daphne, I'm heading to my dental office for the day. Do you have any advice for me?
Remember, you're a dentist, so keep it crying on the inside.
Good tip.
Do you need a dentisting coach? Someone to help you get to the next level? Is this your level and you want to get to the next level? What's wrong with your level? Your level stinks. What if you think you're on the best level? There's no such thing as that. If you even think you're on the best level, that's one of the limitations of your life. You can always get to the next level. I had a client once giving 110%. That stunk. I got him to use 114%. I don't know if that's how math works, but I can help you. I had one client who was so successful, he had a private jet. After working with me, he's now like Gary Vee, he wants to buy the New York Jets. My name is Dr. Paul Goodman, and all of that is total nonsense. I am a normal dentist coach. I'm a dentist myself. I help dentists buy practices, find jobs, hire their first associate, and most of all, just be happier, less grumbly in their dentisting life. It's like if we fed Mr. Grumbly Nachos. If you reach out to us at dentalnachos.com or email us at salsa@dentalnachos.com, we have so many toppings to help you build your morale, make more money, deliver better patient care, and most of all, just be happier each day. So reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. I would love to help you.
Daphne, I'm heading to my
Making a $30,000 mistake when buying a dental practice. My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho, and I made that mistake when we bought our second dental practice. I overpaid by at least $30,000 by being unprepared, unaware, and not knowing what questions to ask. At that time, there were no dental Facebook groups or dental podcasts. But now we know more, and I want to help you not burn your nachos when buying a dental practice. There are 4 P's that we're going to review. But the most important P I want to talk about right now is Paw Patrol. Drew, what are you watching back there? Paw Patrol? Can I have one of your Paw Patrols? Oh, you don't want to share? It's like dental students in the clinic with the cases. No Paw Patrol? See, we have to undo the dental student Hunger Games, even with the moderator. So the 4 P's that we are going to focus on to not burn your nachos when buying a dental practice are process, people, price, profit. Process, people, price, profit. Those 4 P's, we're going to dig into that nacho plate to help you be prepared, know what questions to ask, know who to turn to. This is such a big life decision. I want you to make the best decision possible for you. Buy the right practice for you. Figure out what fits for you. If I can help you along the way, or Dental Nachos can help you, or my awesome friends in this dentisting industry can help you, just reach out to us at salsa@dentalnachos.com or text me at 215-543-6454. If you text nachos to 215-543-6454, that will automatically let you be able to ask us a question via text. It will also give you a gift code to buy some Dental Nachos CE. We have a ton on practice transitions, what happens after you buy the practice, a super important part, how you deal with the team, how you communicate with patients. It's all part of this dentisting circle of life. Getting a job out of dental school, buying your first practice, growing your practice, eventually selling your practice. So if you happen to be on this video and you want to sell your practice, don't turn it off, because you're going to learn too the process of selling a practice, because it's the reverse than buying. It's the jeopardy of buying a practice. The more we all know, so we can communicate better, so we can put some responsible information out there. There are a lot of areas in the dental practice transitions world where you can drop your nachos, burn your nachos, get stale nachos. One of my challenges, the broker selling us the practice was a dual representation broker, something that I think is nacho nuts and should not be part of our dentisting industry, but it is. A dual representation broker claims they can work for both you and the seller at the same time. That was one of the problems, one of the errors I made in not asking enough questions during our transition. So things turned out okay-ish for us. We still own this practice, but if this was my first practice, the most important decision of my dentisting life, I'd have a bigger problem. So I want you to remember, people, process, price, profit. People, process, price, profit. Those are the 4 things to focus on. to not burn your nachos when buying a dental practice. So I hope you enjoy the content here. If you're watching this live, I cannot wait to interact with you during the show. Ask us questions. If you're watching this on demand on Nacho Zoom TV or on Dental Nacho Flix, you can email us a question at salsa@dentalnachos.com. And if you want access to awesome content, top with CE, awesome content, top with CE, Nacho Flix has over 100 hours of content on clinical toppings, practice management toppings, leadership toppings, patient communication toppings, how to read a P&L, how to not have too much stress as a dentist. It's all there for Dental Nacho Flix for you to watch, learn, and earn CE. If you are not already a member, just text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454, and we will send you a free watch-in pass for 30 days. So text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454. I want Dental Nacho Flix to bond us together. I want it to be the information that you can access from your phone at any time when you have a challenge in your dentisting life. So I'm going to get back to Paw Patrol and the moderator. I hope you guys are doing well, and I cannot wait to share with you how not to burn your nachos when buying a dental practice, the biggest decision of our dentisting life, and how not to make a $30,000 mistake like I did.
Okay, welcome guys to How Not to Burn Your Nachos and Buying a Dental Practice. We'll get some pre-show interviews. My good friend Jordan can put his video on. We'll actually stop share so you guys can see us as possible. Awesome.
Hey, how's it going, Paul?
Jordan, okay, first for being on here, you don't get paid, but I figure I'm going to send you one of these 12-pound weights you can use. And
I can use it.
Try hard enough. You can use these 35, but don't hurt yourself yet. So,
I love it.
Jordan is an awesome dentisting human, is also in great shape, and it sets us up to talk about this, how to build your dentisting core. Bob Guac, PDS, mind, words, hands. Start developing your dentisting core the first day of dental school, and don't stop until you are rad. That's a retired age dentist. So I'm graduated in 2002, 18 years in. I'm a medium-age dentist, mad years after dental school. Jordan is 1 year after dental school, so he's still a baby-age dentist, bad. These are all terms of affection to share with you this dentisting circle of life. The reason I had Jordan on here first is because the Dental Nachos Network tries to bring you up-to-date breaking dentisting news, and we had some interesting drama shared with us about the challenges of one dental school right now during the pandemic, not getting enough clinical requirements, other schools writing in, people saying this, and I wanted to bring on Jordan to share with us about his dentisting life, what he's doing, why he did an AGD, he's got a residency guide, and also his social media stuff. So welcome, Jordan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invitation, Paul. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. You have great content out there. You got a great attitude. First, I always say you got to orient people's mind into who you are. So one of my tips for managing patients in dental school, one in the afternoon, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Residency, you're seeing more. When you're in your own office, sometimes you're running around like crazy. You forget who's in one of the rooms. So orient your brain. Hey, I'm Dr. Paul. Today we're going to do your crown. Someone's going to say, I thought we were doing an implant. So orient your brain to our audience to you. Who are you and where are you in the dentisting world?
Sure. My name is Dr. Jordan Brown. I graduated from the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. I try to be as active on social media as I can. My Instagram username is @Dr. Jordan Brown, just like that. I'm a National Health Service Corps scholar, but before I went to do my service commitment, I went ahead and decided to do an AEGD because I wanted to front load my career by learning all of the more advanced dental procedures, focus on those on the front end of my career. That way, when I'm later on in practice, I can only tweak my skills as I go along and then focus more on the practice management side of things.
Great insight there. And you put out great stuff on Instagram, and you're kindly disruptive in your own way to start some uncomfortable conversations. Is dentistry still worth it? Is it not worth it? Is the debt worth it? But if we can drill down, pun intended, to this AGD GPR, and you are right in there with, fourth year students leaving, what were some of the reasons that some people didn't want to do an AGD or GPR? Or if someone's on the fence thinking, should I do it? Should I not do it? Share some insight from your classmates.
Sure. I think one of the things that graduating dental students hope for is they want to find that awesome mentor dentist that will teach them all the advanced dental procedures that they want to learn, and they want to do all those things in their practice. Now, That is kind of a golden opportunity that a lot of people would want to have, but it's few and far between. It's more rare than people think. Because if you imagine this, when you are a practice owner, as you can imagine, Paul, you have to manage your team members. You have to think about your own patients. They are taking CE as well. And so the last thing that they're going to have time to do a lot of the times is to mentor you through a root canal or through an implant or something like that, okay? And so if you can find an opportunity like that, like a diamond in the rough, fantastic, go for it. But for me, at least personally, I'm a National Health Service Corps scholar. So with that, if anyone doesn't know, I am committed to practicing in an underserved community because they paid for dental school. So for me, I want to be able to learn advanced procedures and then go into these communities and then start rocking and rolling with the advanced dental procedures without having to have someone hold my hand through a procedure.
Great insight there. I always like to add a little value. So these two books I have with me at all times. If you guys turn this off, never watch me again, or you're watching this 5 years from now or 5 months from now, and you buy these two books, the E-Myth Revisited and the Checklist Manifesto, these two books will help you run your life and your dental career. Because you talked about all the things you have to do: entrepreneur, manager, and technician. Get your technician part down. Now, I went in with my dad back in 2005 after doing a multi-year GPR. My dad did the Air Force. He said, private practice is not going anywhere. Learn new stuff. Practice on people in a supportive environment. One of the things that I will share here is, this is my example that I use all the time. And two examples. One, when we had the second moderator, okay, first moderator came out like me really fast. The day of her due date, she was ready here for Earth. Our second one, slow, behind schedule. I don't know the technical term, everyone, but when she was being born, I think she got stuck. Okay, so at some point, we had a first-year OB resident, a chief OB resident, a attending, all helping with this. And in a hospital, that's totally normal. In a dental office, and this does stink, when you bring another dentist into your operatory and ask for help, unfortunately, the patient often loses confidence in that first dentist, and that stinks, and I don't like that. So what happens in an AEGD and GPR is the patients are trained for more than one dentist to be in the room. So that's one of the things that I found valuable, where I could say, is this the right way, this implant? I hold this implant screwdriver. I can't get this root tip out. Can you come help me? Because I have multiple associates who are awesome in my office. And if they say, hey, I don't know how to get this implant crown in, I try to coach them outside the operatory. Because I know the second I walk in, which is the same thing with my dad, unfortunately, even though you're trying your best, get the best result, 2 heads better than 1. Dentistry is such a weird thing. And I only use this example, our hair. If you were getting a haircut and the stylist brought in another stylist halfway through, and you got a great job because the first stylist is like, I don't know how to do Jordan's fancy thing, you would leave with a great haircut, but maybe not wanting to see that initial stylist again. So my encouragement to you is take that year to learn in a supportive environment. What are some of the things, walk me through a day of your AEGD, Jordan, like day, get there till the end.
Yeah, that's a great point right there, Paul. And so I want to just point out that last 2 weeks ago, I had my first really big case, okay? We placed 6 implants because we're going to do a bar and a denture. Think about it, I just graduated in May, okay? And it's August now, and I'm already doing big cases. But I had an awesome mentor dentist with me, going through the whole procedure. He placed the first implant, and then I did the other 5. And like you said, in an AEGD or GPR, it's normalized to have a mentor dentist in there. But essentially what will happen is when I go into the morning, we have a morning huddle at 7:15. I try to arrive around 6:50, 6:55. I'll look over my patient schedule again for the day, see if there's been any changes to it. We'll have our morning huddle with our team, which is around 6 residents on our team. In total, there's about 12 residents, but on our team, there's just 6 of us. We'll go over all our cases for the day, and then we'll kind of, split up. And when patients start rolling in, we'll start seeing patients. We usually see them from 7 till 5 o'clock, and then usually we'll have time to do lab work afterwards. And so we do all our own lab work. Usually we'll do our own wax ups, things like dentures or fabricating crowns. We'll send those to the lab, but usually it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And I want to sound like hopefully a medium-aged guy, not an old guy when I say this, but you do have your whole life to be in private practice. And there's also something magical about spending time with your own peer group in a different environment than dental school. Dental school had a lot of misery loves company. You got a C, I got a D, okay, great. My wax fell on the ground, someone yelled at me, I cried, inside and outside. But then in residency, you're kind of building this team, which gives you a lot of team building skills for when you go into the real world. And that's just another reason that that's so valuable. So tell me about your residency guide.
Sure. So my residency guide. So as you can imagine, Paul, residencies, AEGs, GPRs, they vary considerably across the country. Okay. And a lot of what concerns final year dental students, D4s or whatever you call them, is that they don't know which program's good, which program's not so good. And all the websites generally have generic information on them. You can't get the nitty gritty of what's going on. And so what I did and what my team of classmates did is we contacted all the different programs. We talked with current residents. We talked with program directors. And essentially, we compiled all of that together in a guide on not only AEGDs and GPRs, but also my colleagues that went into ortho, that went to pediatric dentistry, that went to PROS and OMFS. They all pretty much compiled this guide together on not only how to evaluate good residency programs, but also which specific ones had good things about them. And so we distributed that for free on Instagram, and it really took off.
If someone's listening, because I kindly annoyed some people. There's another awesome dental student named Jordan. I kindly annoyed him into doing a GPR. Randy, Alana. I mean, one of the things I shared with my residents, my first lecture the other day was when someone gives you advice in life with no self-interest, right? So not necessarily your spouse, your parents, an advisor. When someone gives you advice, like I would say, my life is no different if 50 dentists do a GPR or 5. But I know how much impact it will have. So when people give you advice like that, like I kindly annoyed these great dental students who are doing a GPR now or doing that, take that advice and really take it to heart. And not just from Dr. Nacho, anyone, because those are people who've been out there, see the big picture, and sometimes say, yeah, I know you want to pay off debt, and I know you want to do this, but just take this 1 year for yourself, invest it in yourself. How can people get this guide?
Sure. Link is in my on my Instagram in my bio. Just go in there, click on it. I have 3 different volumes of books, but the residency guide is volume 2. Click on that. It'll give you all the instructions on how to gain access to it.
Oh, awesome. That's really awesome. I appreciate what you're sharing out there. You're getting dentists talking like me. I'm going to wear an excess. But one day, Jordan, you can hopefully do bicep curls with these 35-pound weights. When you come to Philly, I will train you personally, free of charge, 42-year-old, all that workout.
I'll be honored. Thank you, Paul.
Awesome, Joe. We're going to talk about a lot of things here tonight about buying a practice. Another thing is it's never too early to learn for the future. So even if you're D1, look up Jordan, what he's doing. Ask people ahead of you. Ask as many people as possible. Find out about as many stories as possible. One of the things I want to share before you jump off, Jordan, I really love that you did this guide is, one, I have a lot of catchphrases. One is live your life in the most, not in the lightning. So unfortunately, dental school trains us to look for what's wrong. What's wrong? Peri-implant implants are awesome. Out of every 100 implants, like 3 or 4 have a major problem. But dentists love to think about there's 3 or 4, not the 96. Ask dentists if when they did a GPR AGD, try to find one who regrets it. It's hard. So the good news there is that most programs are good to great. However, it is a big decision. Use your guide, Jordan, to find out. It's not even about some of these programs, and I help dentists all the time. It's just not the right fit for them. It doesn't mean that the program itself is terrible. Maybe there's too much on call. Maybe there's too much surgery, not enough of them. So I think that guide is awesome. You're doing great, Jordan. Thanks for jumping on with us. We really appreciate it. Thanks for being a good sport about all my jokes, and appreciate it. Have a great rest of the night.
You all as well. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for Jordan for being on with us. Now we're going to bring on one more interview before we start. Jared, you can start your video. Awesome, perfect. So we are now going to shift into talking about how not to burn your nachos when buying a dental practice. One of the biggest decisions of your life. And I have key resource sponsor, my friend, Jared Duckett, dental-focused accountant, somebody who helps dentists make big life decisions. I wanted him to jump on before we started my content so he could share some of the things that he does on a regular basis. Same thing as Jordan. Jared, orient yourself, who you are, how would people reach out to you, and what do you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, Paul, appreciate you having me, man, for sure. Yeah, Jared Duckett, Duckett Ladd CPAs and Advisors. Like you said, we're a dental-focused CPA firm. What we like to do is be a partner with the dental practice, not just be that transaction. You know, so what we hear all the time talking to dentists is they typically go see their CPA, you know, once a year. And that really sets them up for disaster. I mean, twofold, really. Most of the time, if you see your CPA once a year, you probably don't know your numbers as well as you should. And then number 2, if you're not talking to your CPA, then you go see them once a year, you're going to be surprised and frustrated, you know, that you owe money because you have no idea what's going on.
I like to tell the story that's very near and dear to my 42-year-old dad's self. it would be like seeing a personal trainer twice a year and being like, I didn't know you were eating pizza and drinking margaritas all this time. I can't fix it in one session. So I think there is a lot of reactive accounting stuff instead of proactive. So I love that. What would you advise? Let's say you're a new dental practice owner or in the middle part of your career. When should people be contacting you, and how often do you meet with your clients?
Yeah, so great question. So the frequency, we typically meet with our clients on a monthly basis. We're diving deep, and we've got a system that we've built that we're providing, that financial clarity to them and proactive advice on a monthly basis. And there's no way that you're not going to know your numbers if you're working with us, because we put those numbers in your face. We force you to look at those numbers. Really, the phase doesn't matter. I mean, really, like where you're at in your practice. If you're looking at a potential dental practice, contact us. We can help on the practice acquisition analysis side to kind of really dive deep into that practice to see if it's a healthy practice, to kind of run the traps on different scenarios, on what you purchase it for and how cash flow is going to work. But if you're really a proactive, go-getter dentist that wants to just flat out get better in your practice, jump on, get with us. I mean, we like to really just dive deep in your practice and help you get better.
And what I share, that's just really awesome value and insight is, there's no downside. You'll either say, you're making great profit, keep doing what you're doing, keep eating how you're eating, working out, or you could tweak this and make more money for doing the same work, which is literally every dentist's dream, because dental hours are like dog year hours, okay? My dad was the most wonderful person, my mentor. I want to be a doctor, dentist, or lawyer, got to work with him for 11 years. But the only thing that he would say that I would say was not accurate, he said, I work only 30 hours a week. But after hours, when he's paying bills and doing stuff, people call that work. So oftentimes, the hours you're putting in chair side are so intense and so stressful that you may as well be more profitable, because that helps your team, it helps your patients, it helps your retirement account. Before we start our show, I wanted to ask you, do you have either a good recent success story, either could be from the pandemic, or maybe a scary one where nothing bad happened, but you said, oh, geez, we got to look at this before you move forward?
Yeah, I mean, from the pandemic, we've had several clients that really, we dove really deep and started to meet with clients on a weekly basis. And that was all about cash flow, because everything got shut down. But really, we've seen where practices were able to just really reset. And they dove deep in their practice, looked at their expenses, got really lean, and then reset their practice to where when they came back out of the pandemic, they saw that profit and they were like, man, this is fun again. When the numbers aren't looking so good, stuff gets, starts sucking and you're like, man, this sucks. I don't want to do this. But if you really reset your practice, relight that fire in your belly, if you will. And that's just the fun stuff where we've seen really practices re-energize themselves to kind of get to where they need to be.
And that's really awesome. I have some content in my presentation where I talk about dental focused accountants, because when you're going to buy a practice, and I'm talking about some of the errors I made, because I didn't have a dental focused accountant look at our practice in 2011. It was a different time then. And I made an error in not looking at the cash flow before I bought the practice, which was a huge mistake, because an accountant will say to you, dental focused accountant, this is what it's going to feel like if you purchase this practice. And one of the things that's interesting happened here, and I can share, we have different dentists of ages and stages. When I graduated from dental school, Jared, and then I did a residency, and then I worked as an associate for my dad, but whether my other people work for other dentists, every time they bought a practice, they made more money. Every single time. You're making 130 grand, you buy a practice, you make 200. You're making 140 grand, you make 190. Making 150, you're making 300. But now, with DSOs and high-level associate positions as a broker, I talk to someone and I say, oh, you could buy this practice doing $600,000 a year. What am I going to make after the debt? 150. They go, I don't want that practice. I make 270 grand as an associate for a DSO, which puts people in strange scenarios. And, you also get involved with helping people with their family situation, because this stuff affects your spouse. It affects your retirement account. It affects, what you can save for your children's college. So if someone was listening now, watching now, and we're thinking about buying a practice, what are some of the things that you say you should look at this? If there were two things you guys recommend to look at, what would you recommend?
Yeah, first off, ask for help is what I would ask for. Reach out to us, but ask for help and really run the traps. You said the two words. Practice acquisition is all about cash flow. So run those traps. People automatically, you said exactly right, think, hey, I'm going to go buy this practice and it's going to be unicorns and rainbows. It's going to be so great and I'm going to triple my income. That's not often the case. And so you need to run the traps to see, okay, if I purchase for X and this is what I finance and this is my monthly payment, et cetera, what's the cash flow it's going to come down to? And that's what you need to dive deep into to see actually what it looks like on paper. Don't just assume. Look at it on paper so that there's no surprises once you jump in.
I think I want you guys to start referring to yourself. You're the endodontist of the transitions world, because you have a specific thing. You do it all the time. People watching, the dental focused accountants like Jared and Bill and their team, they're like the people who find MB2. You probably have no idea what that means. You don't want to know. But they're the people looking in these canals all the time saying, you know, these add backs mean the dentist is making more money. Here's a problem here. This person's paying their wife, not even paying their wife. And you have to pay a front desk person. All errors I have made. This person is, you know, putting money over here. You don't have to do that. Maybe it'll be income. And when you guys look at a tax return, you look at it like the way an endodontist looks at a tooth under a microscope. You can't go wrong with that. So I appreciate that, Jared. How can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah, just go to our website, ducketlad.com. You just click at the top right on the work together icon there, and then short input form, and put in our sales funnel. We'll reach out to you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. What I'm trying to create here for everybody watching or listening, I watched Michael Jordan's Last Dance. Huge basketball fan, want to be an NBA player. This is the body I got, so I was not an NBA player. But I want to create that with the practice deal, dissect practice deal. So we'll have you on again to look at this. And one of the things that I would say is what you said, get help early and make connections early. Maybe you're an associate thinking of buying a practice in 2 years. You can still reach out to people like you and banks and dental focused attorneys. Get to know people, share your story. Most people will connect with you in a complimentary way initially anyway, just to say, oh, hey, I'm this team and I do this. Because when the time comes, you don't want to be stuck not having someone. And I'm sure you see that with clients sometimes, whether it's a bank or attorney. They may have a great relationship with you. They say, I want to buy a practice in a month, and they haven't gotten bank financing or know a dental focused attorney.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Start making the relationships now, and then start understanding the principles of business now. You know, you said it, maybe in 2 years, you want to look at, you know, purchasing a practice. Start diving in, read books, educate yourself on how business principles work. What are the levers in a dental practice that you can pull to maximize profitability? And then when you go to buy a practice, you already know this stuff. We see a lot of times people just jump in, buy it, and then start to learn it, and they're just behind.
Right. Yeah, that's how I did parenting. You just take the baby home.
That's right.
Figure it out. Everybody comes and helps you. Nobody comes to help you with. You got grandparents and aunts. Let me hold the baby. No, it's like, let me hold your practice and make sure the EBIT is right. They don't care.
That's right.
So I appreciate it. You guys can reach out to us, salsadentalnachos.com, to connect with Jared and his partner, who are awesome guys and awesome nacho resource and sponsor. Thanks so much, Jared. We'll start sharing here. We'll have you back on for another episode of dissecting the practice deal.
You bet. Appreciate it, Paul.
Thanks so much, guys.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Jared. All right, guys, you guys are doing awesome. What I want to share now is the goal here, and Jill, my awesome sister and Job Connect coordinator. If you're looking for a job, looking for a possible partner for your practice, looking to sell your practice, buy your practice, Jill can help you. She's in the chat. We are going to create content, a story, you know, how I made a $30,000 mistake, and how I can help you, prevent you from doing that. But your questions are the most important. What you're thinking about is the most important. Share in the chat, share in the Q&A. You cannot go over an entire practice purchase in just 30 minutes. I'm a big fan of, I don't want to give you guys too much information, but we're going to go through these 4 P's: process, people, price, profit. When buying a dental practice, those are the 4 things you want to think about. What's the process? We're going to talk about that. Who are the people I need to talk to? Who are the people who are going to be involved for short term, medium term, long term? The person selling you the practice may be involved for a day, maybe not be involved at all, may be involved for 3 years. The team that you take over when you buy that practice, they may be involved for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. The price of the practice, I'm gonna give you a tip, don't freak out over the asking price. You're gonna reverse engineer that with the profit. So those 4 P's are going to help you. I'm also gonna highlight times where you may burn your nachos. When I have a small bag of nachos, the monitor opened here, where you may burn your nachos, and you want to avoid that. Say, oh, I remember when this Dr. Nacho said this, I should ask more questions about this. So the way I like to try to teach, confuse information, is a classic. You can't just open up top of someone's head and pour in all the information. You have to glue it to people. This is a great thing for patient communication. I know for a fact, tomorrow, you guys are going to overwhelm a patient. You're going to talk and talk and talk about implants and osseointegration, all this stuff, and they're not going to get it. But if you glue information, Karen Cortell Riceman, amazing speaker coach, who I have worked with, Terry Brock, one of my speaker coaches now and trainers. The way you communicate with people and get them to understand new information determines your success. My ability to motivate and connect with people will determine my success in life. So I'm hopefully doing this with you with how to buy a practice. I didn't know this 9 years ago when I made these errors. I'm just encouraging you when you go to your office tomorrow, maybe you'll use something from tonight to connect with people. And it's a combination of stuff you say, stuff you write, things you draw. Already here today, just in this first 20 minutes, I've used props to help glue this together. I've given you this example for Jordan of your dental core with just an easy picture. I have a whiteboard all the time that I draw for patients, implant stuff, cavities, all those things, cavity, bone shrinks, breakage of teeth. You will not forget this. Look, mind, words, hands, draw. We're going to use video as well. We're going to use our words. So let's start with this. If you have questions along, I love that. There's no agenda. There's no test at the end. If you want to be feel philosophical, the test is life, right? The test is life. So there's no test here. The test is your dentistry life. So you're here, ask your questions. It's an evening time. We have time. So I'm going to share my screen here. And stop my video for a second. Okay. So I made a $30,000 mistake when buying a dental practice in 2011, our second practice. It's always great to have all kinds of information that can help you along the way. So if you text success to 215-543-6454, I will send you, or the magical text thing will send you, a free copy of Successful Dental Transition. It's a 60-minute content piece course on buying and selling a dental practice. Also has some pieces of adding an associate and finding a job. It's one of our most popular courses, Successful Dental Transitions. It's totally free. Watch it with your spouse, watch it with your friend, watch it by yourself, put it in your phone and your AirPods when you're working out or walking to class, and get this information into your head, because it will help you with some of the most important things in your dentistry life. So feel free to take advantage of that. What I'm going to do is play this video that I made just 2 hours ago, walking around Philadelphia, the historic area where I love. And then we're going to stop it at each important point, and I'm going to go over some stuff to share with you for you not to forget. If along the way you're looking to buy a practice or sell a practice, you can email transitions@dentalnachos.com, transitions@dentalnachos.com. That's our email segment for our transitions team that can help you. We also have practices listed in PA, New Jersey, if you're in those areas you want to find out, or get on our list if you are interested in those areas. So let's start this video here.
I made a $30,000 mistake in buying a dental practice. I did not know who to hire. I was not aware. I was unprepared. And it cost me $30,000. My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho, dentalnachos.com. And if you're watching this and you want access to this content after this show, just text FLIX to 215-543-6454. Just text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454. You will get a free 30-day pass to Dental Nacho Flix. Awesome content, top with CE. So you can watch this information again, or if you missed it live, you can watch it, because what I'm going to share with you during this show will help you not burn your nachos when buying a dental practice. Who is going to lead you in the most important decision of your life? It's one of my favorite places in Philadelphia, Washington Square Park. One of our most famous leaders here on earth, George Washington. So as I walk around the park, I'm going to share with you this story of how I made a series of mistakes that cost me $30,000 when buying a dental practice. So one of my favorite things to say is the story is the star. So let's start with this story. It was 2011. I worked with my dad and my brother in New Jersey. An equipment rep, supply rep, had heard of a dentist nearby that was unfortunately sick and needed to sell his practice. He alerted us that this opportunity was available.
So step one, how do you find out about dental practices? Your dream may be to own a dental practice. You may be an associate. You may be a dental student. First of all, I want to share with you, you don't have to rush into ownership, okay? It's not going anywhere. Sometimes when, your two teammates are fighting and crying, you have to figure out the bills and do these things. It feels like you're running a circus at times, so don't rush into it. Find the right fit. Don't have an arbitrary deadline for yourself. But how do you find out? Let's say you go from here. Let's say you're watching this, you're listening to this, and you say, I want to buy a dental practice now. ABC, always be connecting. Always be connecting. So the connection story here was one of the major company's supply reps knew my brother, my dad, and I, and said, there's a practice for sale 5 miles from you. The dental practice owner is unfortunately sick. You three may be a good group to buy it. So he knew us. So who can you connect with? Write this down, RTT. Remember these things. Connect with supply reps, industry professionals, people like our dental-focused accountant, that Jared, who was just on here, bankers, people in the industry. Go to as much CE as humanly possible. When you are looking to buy a dental practice, go to as much CE as humanly possible. When in-person CE is legal again, hopefully it will be. I love running in-person CE. We've had to reschedule some stuff because of the pandemic. I don't care if it's about pharmacology. I don't care if you hate veneers and the whole thing is about veneers. You're not going just for the CE. You're going there to meet other dentists. Because here's what happens. I say finding a job in dentistry is a lot like dating. Finding a practice is like finding someone to seriously date and get married. So when you sit at a table, don't be weird and be on your phone. Talk to the people around you. Share your story. Say things like, where are you a dentist? How's your practice going? And then infuse your story in. Oh, I love my job, but I'm looking to move and maybe buy a practice at some point, or at some point I would like to own a practice. They're going to say, oh, I'm not selling my practice, but my good friend from dental school, 2 towns over, he's looking for somebody. My good friend from dental school, he's had his practice on the market and no one's buying it yet. This is how magic happens. So who can do this? You make your own connections, and then we're going to talk about brokers. Brokers, I'm a practice transition broker, United Dental Brokers of America. We work just for the seller. We are not the representation brokers. So if you're taking notes, you're listening, the number one way to burn your nachos, one way to burn your nachos, I use Mr. Grumbly, is working with a dual representation broker can be very dangerous. A dual representation broker, which you'll hear here in a minute, tries to represent the seller and the buyer at the same time. To me, I have no idea how this is legal. It's nacho nuts to me. I did not know at the time. This was weird. I had to pay a fee to this dual representation broker, even though the dual representation broker was getting a fee from the seller. So you want to develop your own team. We had a question. Who can I go to for dental-focused advisory work? Accountants, attorneys, financial planners, consultants. Just email us, dental-focused advisors at salsa@dentalnachos.com, and we'll share the list. Some are sponsors, some are friends, some are people I know. You want to get multiple recommendations. If you're going out to dinner on Friday night, you would get multiple restaurant recommendations. You may not have the same personality fit as every accountant out there. So get multiple recommendations. But how can you connect to find a practice? Brokers, industry professionals, CE courses.
This represents one of my nacho tips, ABC, always be connecting. Connect with people who can help solve problems for you. If you are looking to purchase a dental practice, those people will be other dentists, specialists, supply reps, industry professionals. This is a great way to know about practices outside of brokers. But brokers, and I am one now, working for the seller for United Dental Brokers of America, brokers have access to the most practices. So this supply rep connected us with the broker. How I burnt my nachos, step one, was this broker was a dual representation broker. At the time, I was unaware, unprepared, didn't know how to protect myself. Dual representation is nacho nuts. I don't know how. This exists in the dental industry. To share what dual representation is, I will use a good joke from my friend, Rob Montgomery, excellent dental-focused attorney, and my podcast partner and personal dental-focused attorney. Now, I did not have Rob at that time. A dual representation broker claims they can represent the seller and the buyer in the same transaction. It would like someone telling you they are an Eagles fan and a Cowboys fan at the same time. Doesn't sound right. So how can a dual representation broker represent your interest and the interest of the seller at the same time? Additionally, the other nacho nuts part, and to start, how I cost myself money, was I had to pay an additional fee to work with this broker. So the dual representation broker collects a fee from the seller and the buyer. The level of toxicity of dual representation brokers can vary. This one was not the most toxic. There are some that are extremely toxic, and the percentage that you pay is nacho nuts. So number one, find out what type of broker you are working with. A dual representation broker can cause you to burn your nachos. So when I looked at this practice in 2011, there are 4 P's I want us to focus on. 4 P's: the process in buying a dental practice, the people, the price, and the profit. The process, the people, the price, and the profit. One of the things I like to share is that trying to learn too much information at once will overwhelm your mind. So take from this video, this content, take home tips, jot them down, put them on notes in your phone. There are ways for you to remember what we talked about here. And as I mentioned before, if you would like access to the show after the show, just text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454. So,
Okay, so is anyone going to be checking a hygiene patient tomorrow? Raise your hand. Okay, so usually if you've seen me speak, some nice dentist here saw me speak in Houston. Okay, got some. They know I'm super interactive. I walk around, I know people's names. So while I love walking down the hall from where I live to Nacho headquarters, which is in my building, and being in front of you, I don't love that. I can't see you, can't talk to you, can't pick on people, all that stuff in the most fun way. So I love interactions. We got like 4, 5, 6, 7 people raising their hand. That's like 10% of the people watching, but good job so far, guys. Okay, thanks, guys. So raise your hand if you've ever been in a hygiene check or been talking to a patient or been talking to a person and they keep yapping on and you don't know how to get out of the room. Raise your hand. You're running late. They're asking questions. Okay, yeah, that happens frequently. Okay, so here, I'll give you a tip. It's a talking tip. It's going to help you for the rest of your life. Okay, so when someone's doing that, okay, just say, hey, I want to check in. Got to get in the pause. Or if you want to be likable at the end, don't say, do you have any questions about your teeth? No good. Do you have any questions about your insurance? No good. It's a yes or no question. They are no good. Okay. If I say, do you guys have any questions about brokers? You're just going to sit there silently. Now, here's what you say. Tomorrow, when you finish your hygiene check, you want to seem likable, credible, and make sure the person understands you. What questions do you have about fill in the blank? What questions can I help you understand more about fill in the blank? What questions can I help you understand more about your dental implants, about how your insurance works? You seem super nice, and it gives the person the space to answer, and they can't say yes or no. They can't. They could say, I don't have any questions, you did a great job. Or they could say, oh, how long does it take to heal again? You're gonna get magic back. Or you're also gonna be able to get out of the room. Because you're gonna say, I don't have more questions, and get out of the room. So I'm gonna ask you guys, since we're going to step by step, segment by segment, understanding the process. What questions do you have about dental brokers? What questions do you have about dental brokers that I can help you understand? How to connect with dental brokers, questions to ask them. What questions can I answer? Now, I know when I'm on Zoom, I'll give you guys a chance because you're typing in. So I'll give everyone a 30-second meditation break to put in the Q&A or the chat. What questions do you have about dental brokers? What questions can I answer to help you understand more about how dental brokers work? We got a good question already. Good job. Thanks. Here, watch, guys. Now I got an awesome question, and now I'll do what you do. Every good parent does it. I will bribe people. I'll bribe you. That's what we come to. So I'm going to go and make my awesome sister Jill a panelist. So Jill, you can now directly message people, and you can give them $25 gift codes of any kind, anything else. So now every time you get asked a question, Jill will send you a $25 gift code. Okay, Jill, if you don't know any $25 gift codes, just have them text Amanda for tomorrow or email Amanda. Okay, so now, great question. Now I'll bring my face back on screen. We did it. Because if you have this question, that means everyone else has this question too. So first question, what's the downside of not using a broker for either the buyers or seller? Magic words, when people ask a question, here's what you say. Good question. I would want to know that too. Good question. A lot of people ask that. Makes you seem likable and credible. Gives yourself a chance to think. So when someone tomorrow says, why does my insurance only cover $5? And blah, blah, blah. Just say, good question. A lot of people ask that. I would want to know that too. Calms them down, makes them seem normal. The downside of not using a broker for the buyer or seller is that it will limit both people's options as to how many people they can engage with. So let's say you're a seller and you have $1 million practice and you can sell it for $700,000. And you say, I don't want to pay a $70,000 commission. I don't want to pay $70,000 to a broker. Before as a broker, I would have said the same thing. That's easy to sell practice. It's not. Here's the challenge. You're the seller. First, let's talk about the seller. Dr. Guac, $1 million practice. You can list it, $700,000. Broker can sell it. $70,000 commission. You get $630,000. You think I want to try to sell it on my own? First of all, in life, attention. How are you going to get attention on your own practice? How are you going to market it? Okay, so first, how are you going to market it? The journal? No one reads the journal. Okay. Facebook, your own personal Facebook page. And here's the real answer. Selling a dental practice, if your team knows you're selling your dental practice, they will freak out. Even if you're like 75 and they know you're going to sell someday. And they might not quit, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to ask you every day, it's the day to day, do we sell it? You ever tell a 2-year-old or 3-year-old or 6-year-old they're getting ice cream? You better be getting that ice cream. Are we getting the ice cream now? Now, Dad? Now? No, I hold it in my head. I say, oh, now, Daphne, we're getting it in a half hour. So if you're a seller, you want to keep this confidential from your team, not because you're hiding it, but because you want to talk to buyers, talk to people, because the process is way longer. One of my golden nacho tips, selling a practice, buying a practice is longer than you think. If everything goes right, 12 months. If everything goes right. From listing the practice to having a new person, you want to count on 12 months. So someone's sitting there or listening to this, I want to sell my practice in 6 months. You're 6 months too late. Have I done some magical things? Like when you get the 2 minutes, when you thought it was 20 minutes? Yes, but that's not the most. Live your life in the most. If I was trying to sell my own practice, I would count on 12 full months from the day I list it to the day I sell it. There's a lot of steps. Now, as a buyer, you don't really get a broker. There are people like buyer coaches. One is Brian Hanks, who I'm friendly with. He's a great resource. Even someone like me, if I'm not selling a practice, I never do the same on the same deal. I can act as your buyer coach, but I don't really find them for you. I give you feedback when you bring the practice. And you say, hey, Paul, I want to sit down and get a coaching package. They're super inexpensive. And we go through these practices. I've done it probably at least 50 times. And I say, hey, this practice is really, really good, pretty good, not so good, or run. Think of me as the LOEPA guy of the practice transition deal. So sellers need brokers to bring buyers. Sellers need brokers to bring buyers. That's the downside. Also, there's a common cause. One buyer is no buyer. If you are selling your practice and you think Jim Smith's going to buy it, you can go through 7 months and Jim Smith can back out. If you don't have some backup buyers in there, you got to start the practice over again. So now look at these questions are coming out from ever. All right, Jill, make sure we save all these just in case. So great question. Now everybody wants a $25 gift card from Jill. If you're watching this and you think of a question, just email Jill at dentalnachos.com and she'll get the question answered and she'll send you the gift card. When signing non-disclosure agreements and getting started with brokers, what's the normal average fee a broker will take? It should be 0. When you're a buyer, there should be no fee. So the dual representation brokers, they should just pick a side. It's messing up the industry. Some charge $5,000. I had one like that. That's not that bad. Some charge you 3% of the purchase price. So if it's bought for $1 million, you got to pay $30,000. So if you get a non-disclosure agreement from a dual representation broker, I believe you should have a dental focus attorney. I'm going to go over that here, but we're going to get to it tonight. I believe you should have a dental focus attorney look at it. I am a buyer. So here's the thing. I can give advice as to what I do most of the time. I can also give you the ideal advice. So what I do most of the time is sign the NDA when I'm buying a practice, and I don't get too worried about it. But I bought 3-4 practices technically. Doesn't mean I can't make an error. But signing an NDA with a dual rep, you may be committing to something you don't want to commit to. So there's to pay a few $100s to have an attorney review it may be a good suggestion. It might be a good choice for you. Most NDAs that I've experienced, in my experience, most NDAs fairly harmless. They're just saying you can't talk about this practice to your friends or other dentists when you get this. So really good question there. What brokers have good reputations in Houston, Texas? The interesting story about the broker world is even though we are based out of PA, we sell practices in Texas all the time. So you can work with dentists all over the country. I mean, brokers all over the country, but there is still some regional nature to this. So we have like a rep in Texas. If you want to meet her, you can email paul@udba.biz. I'd also just meet as many as possible. One of my advice, my tips here is meet them all and just be cautious. Meet them all and just be cautious, because sometimes a seller has no idea they've signed up with, let's just put it, a not so genuinely responsible broker. The practice is not bad. The broker may have the challenge. Given the cost of dental school, when can you afford to hire dental-focused advisors? Great. I'm going to say this. I know this sounds like grandparent advice. Good advice is never expensive. Good advice is never expensive. Good advice is never expensive. So what that means is I have had practice deals, practice I've wanted to buy. I've spent $12,000 on advisors, not bought the practice, best money I could have spent, because they protected me from a bigger issue. Now, I wouldn't have a dental-focused attorney do an asset purchase agreement for 10 practices. You're going to spend a lot of money. We're going to talk about this process. Once you go through meeting the brokers, we talk about the next step. When you have one that you really like and you want to put an offer in, you want to make sure you talk to a dental-focused attorney before the LOI, is my advice. LOIs are not binding. Go to theDentalAmigos.com. If you want some great free advice, listen to all of our DentalAmigos.com episodes. It's Rob, dental focused attorney, and me talking about hours and hours and hours, bringing on advisors, tremendous amount of free advice in there. But when it comes to your deal, and I say this in the video here, and I care so much for dentists, but I also want to kindly annoy you, and I also want to help you make good decisions. If you cannot afford good advisors, you can't afford to buy the practice. If you can't afford good advisors, you can't afford to buy the practice. So if you cannot save a certain amount of money to interact with advisors, it's not the time for you to buy the practice. Your cash flow is not there. That doesn't mean you have to save $50,000 for advisors. But one tip here, anybody want to, I bet someone get this answer. You can text, Jill, put your number in there for texting. You can text Jill if you win this, and she'll text you back a prize code. You could give them one of our discount codes, Jill. How much? Your practice is $700,000 you want to buy. How much money, this is very critical, do you need to have saved in non-liquid assets? I mean, in non-retirement assets. Brokerage accounts, your savings account. Brokerage account, savings account. $700,000 practice. For a bank to lend you money, how much do you have to have saved? Someone put it in the chat. I'm going to make this person happy. $350 too much. That's too much. If you have $350, awesome. Yep, right answer. 10%. 10%. $70,000. So you want to have $70,000 in 10% of the practice purchase price. I will share, since we're having a hopefully once in a lifetime pandemic, that may go up. Banks have changed, so that may go up, but 10% of the purchase price. The advisors are not part of that. I have a lot of content. Get text success to 215-543-6454. You're going to get a lot of great content. If you want to know a round number, like what your advisor is going to cost, dental focused attorney, possibly a consultant, dental focused accountant, possibly a financial planner in there. You want to count on a $12,000 to $20,000 advisor bucket. $12,000 to $20,000 advisor bucket. That's just to manage your expectations. The key to life is me. The key to life is not Paul Goodman. The key to life is managing expectations. Your children, your parents, yourself, your patients. So great questions here. And we go, perfect. You guys did awesome. All right, we're going to keep moving along. We talked about how you find out about practices, industry professionals, supply reps, dentists at sea, course, and brokers. Now we're talking about signing an NDA, meeting brokers. We're going to talk about how did I make an error. That's going to come up here in a minute. How did first I had to pay the extra for the dual representation broker. I would not want to do that again. Mine was only $5,000. But then on the purchase price and the profitability is where I made an error.
To my story of how I cost myself at least $30,000 in purchasing this dental practice. I shared with you number one way to burn your nachos, working with a dual representation broker. Process, people, price, profit. Let's start with the process. So how do you start developing a plan to purchase a dental practice? The broker, you will connect with brokers. I recommend you connect with as many brokers as possible, even dual representation ones, but be cautious. The more brokers and people that know that you're looking for a dental practice, the more chances you have of having a dental practice be put in front of you. Now, getting back to our story, this practice collected $300,000 a year. $300,000 a year. And in collecting $300,000 a year, it had a profit, P word, of $100,000. I believe we can explain things to people like 4-year-olds. As I walk around Philadelphia telling you this story, the movie Philadelphia, Denzel Washington says numerous times, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. How can we break down complex things like buying a practice into ways anyone can understand? And the 4 P's are part of it. Process, price, profit, people. So the broker told me the price of this practice that collected $300,000 was $215,000, 71% of collections. It is a myth that dental practices are worth 60 to 70% of collections. So, number 2 way to burn your nachos in purchasing a dental practice. The number 2 way to burn your nachos in purchasing a dental practice is to judge the price based on percentage of collections. A tip, a golden nacho tip that I've learned working with United Dental Brokers of America and Bob Septak, the founder of the company, is that net profit, another P word, is the most important factor in valuing a dental practice. What is a quick way to understand or get the value of a dental practice from net profit? What is a system? It is 1.5 to 2 times the net profit. So if we take that $100,000 practice, 1.5 to 2 times was $150,000 to $200,000. $150,000 to $200,000. That was the range. The asking price was $215,000. The broker told me there was a lot of interest in this practice. Now, I want to point out, it is not the job of the broker to do the job for you. So sometimes when I'm the broker for a practice, I work with the buyer, but I work for the seller. I am not a dual rep broker, so I work with the buyer, giving the buyer information, helping them understand some of the data, but I am not there to help the buyer make an offer. The buyer should hire his or her own team. So I just trusted that, hey, this broker had a lot of interest. They may or may not have. So we offered the asking price. We offered the asking price for this practice. Now, paying the asking price for a practice is not a bad thing if the deal warrants that and your life situation is one where maybe paying the asking price makes sense for you. In our situation, this was the second practice for us, and there was room for us to negotiate, which we did not do. So, paying the asking price, the price of a practice should be based on profit, but percentage of collections is often used for it to seem as attractive as possible a sale from the seller angle. So let's just pause for a minute and talk about 2 different practices, go off of my story, and talk about 2 different practices. 2 different.
So we got some more good questions now. Everyone's in the questions. It's great. I love doing this. So a couple things we learned from there. Where did I make an error? I didn't have a me back then. I called myself Nacho Marty McFly, my favorite movie, Back to the Future. I go back to 2011. I would say, Paul, this is Dr. Nacho from the future. They say, what kind of crazy name is that? Like, that's what they call me in the future. It's really weird. But anyway, I go back to 2011. I say, hey, here's what you do. You look at this practice, $100,000 profit, 150 to 200,000 is more reasonable than the 215. So likely, I think we could have got the practice for $160,000. So the seller might have been upset. I understand. Here's some of the delicate things that we'll talk about as we go on. People are involved, and sometimes feelings can become very dramatic. But this seller was sick. I felt bad for the seller. But transferring the goodwill when the dentist is never going to show up at the practice again does devalue that practice. Doesn't mean I would have taken advantage of them, but I paid like the seller was going to be around post-sale, and we never even got a chance to meet this seller. So one of my mistakes was not having some tough conversations, because the seller's timeline, we had to take over the practice quickly, should have given us a break on some of that price, because we were one of the only people who could have done it. I counsel my clients, my sellers, the same way. Hey, you have an injury? and you wanted 300,000 for your practice, but this person will give you 250. You know what's less than 250, seller? 0 is less than 250. So this is a challenging time in people's life, but hopefully you're understanding dual rep broker, not looking at the profit, not knowing 1.5 times the 1.5 to 2 times the profit, just paying the asking price, paying 70% of collection. You're going to hear in a second why 70% of collections is not the way to value a practice. But now I want to answer some questions because I got some great questions in the Q&A. Okay, I don't know why I can't see them. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so is it normal for the seller not to share any numbers in the practice for signing a non-disclosure? If you use a broker, yes, signing a non-disclosure. If you're not using signing a non-disclosure is the first step to share any information. So that's totally normal for them to ask you to do that. 2, what's the typical fee for a buyer consultant? They can range. So a buyer consultant is going to work with you and really try to get you through the whole process from LOI to asset purchase agreement. What I've heard, remember guys, have you ever had a patient get upset with you because they went to the periodontist and the implant was more expensive than what they thought? Anyone been upset? It's happened to me. One time someone stormed in my office, $20,000 perio treatment plan, yelling for me when I was like a new dentist. They said, why did I refer him to a periodontist who was so expensive? I said, I didn't know what they charged. My sense is that's a $5,000 investment. What I do as a buyer coach, I call myself a buyer doula, it's like a baby term, is I help you kind of get to the starting line of seeing if you want to go further with dental focused advisors and accountants. Jill can drop a link for how I do this. I'll show you a little thing at the end. It's really easy. They're like 30-minute sessions. They're only like $200 to $300. So they're not a big expense, but that's different than a buyer consultant. Their buyer consultants are going to walk you through the process. My instinct, my sense is that it's $5,000. But if you found out that it was $4,000, I say that's normal. If you found out it was $7,000, I would say that's normal as well. What are your thoughts on buying into a practice as a 50% partner, assuming the practice has projected growth? Very, 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 very risky. Buy-ins are very risky. They're usually done on emotions. They have to show why it's a 2-dentist practice first. You don't want to take the biggest decision of your life and put it on some dentist's feeling that the practice is going to grow. Now, I love dentists collaborating, but a buy-in based on a 1-dentist practice turning into a 2-dentist practice is very risky. Get help early before you put a lot of hours into it, and then you get frustrated later when it doesn't come to fruition. So buy-ins can be risky. We have a great episode on the Dental Amigos about buy-ins. What are your thoughts? Got that? Do you ask for sellers' monthly profit and loss statement? For sure. Ask for sellers' monthly. Not monthly might be a little maybe quarterly. If someone was there, let's say we have a seller who wants to sell his practice, and they want me to start working on it, get me this 3 years of tax return, 17, 18, 19, and a 2020 P&L. 17, 18, 19, and 2020 P&L. That's really good. What information should the broker seller provide to the buyer after the NDA is signed? Great. So I want to manage expectations, and we're having a great time. We're going to have more of these episodes, I promise. But for your own knowledge good, we're just going to spend about 10 more minutes because there's too much to intake at once, and we'll have another segment on this. If you're watching, if you are listening, and you want to watch everything that we did, just text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454. It's Dental Nacho Flix. I'm so excited to have done it. When you do that, you will get a free 30-day pass, so you'll get access to this show and 100+ hours for the next 30 days. Day 29, quit. Put a note in your phone. You don't have to pay the next month. It's only $19 a month, but you get it for 30 days, and you can watch and rewatch important stuff. I want to give you something on your phone that you can use anytime, anywhere. Anyone on earth, a dental student up to a dentist 50 years in practice, just text FLIX, F-L-I-X, to 215-543-6454, and you can watch all kinds of content on practice transitions, clinical, leadership, team management. So the question we had here, what information should the broker seller provide to the buyer after the NDA is signed? So dentists love details, and in business, too many details up front cause you to get into a molasses of momentum. So I'll share with you in this video. I'm the buyer. I'm working with a broker. I signed the NDA. I only need three things to know if I want to talk to the buyer. Very critical. Jill, please note these is important and it'll help you. So I sign an NDA with a non-dual rep broker. Okay, sign it electronically. This is the only three things, because I'm going to tell you as a broker the best thing you can do is talk to the owner of the practice as soon as possible. Offer to talk to and meet the owner as soon as possible. I don't care if you don't like the practice. You'll learn something. Watch this. You might meet a dentist. His practice is too small, too few ops. Go meet him anyway. He may have a friend selling a practice that's more in your line with you. The only three things I need are, where is the practice located? How many operatories and total collections in 2019? If you told me there's a practice where I went to college, Villanova, PA, 5 ops, $800,000 in collections, I'm meeting that dentist. I don't need to know anything else. I don't know how many fluorides he does on Tuesday. I don't need to know favorite color of the hygienist. That's later. Meet the dentist first. Now, most of you are going to want more info. What we give, though, is a one sheet on the practice, and we don't give all the tax returns at this point. We may give you some profitability numerics, like, hey, there's 32% profit, but I want to see how serious you are by at least talking to the broker on the phone. I mean, talking to the seller on the phone. If you don't want to talk to the seller after knowing where it is, total collections, number of operatories, what's their profitability, you're not a serious buyer. Jump over the hurdle for the broker of talking on the phone, which is pandemic stuff, FaceTiming, was going to meet the practice, and then get all the other information. Tax returns, number of active patients, do they use Dentrix or Open Dental? You will get yourself bogged down in details, and more details do not help you make the next decision. And the next decision is, do I want to meet this seller? I'm interested in a short buyer coaching session. Okay, cool. Jill can send you that. I got that there. Our practice note, that's awesome. I'd love to help you with that. When you're looking at a P&L in terms of the net profit, are you looking at the net profit after dentist compensation, or is net profit prior to dentist compensation? Wonderful question. Okay, most practices being sold are solo dental practices here. Let me use this here. This is a great question. So they have overcomplicated solo dental practice sales. So let's just say you have a dentist, Dr. Nacho. He collects $800,000 a year, 4 ops, selling 4 ops, Philadelphia, PA. It's 4 ops. See, very, very complex thing I got here. Can you guys see it? Okay, Dr. Nacho, $800,000, Philadelphia, PA. Let's say the profit here is $300,000. What this means is, if you took this practice and you turned it upside down and you shook out all the money that's profit, $300,000 would fall on the ground. And that's the dentist compensation. EBITDA for a solo practice is not incredibly helpful. What EBITDA would mean is, if in this practice, if you want to know, because I know you guys like to know, if the dentist does, if Dr. Nacho does $600,000 of dentisting, and the hygienist does $200,000 of hygiene, okay, and you had to pay someone to replace the dentist, and you paid 35% to replace the dentist, let's just make that $210,000. So do you see how I had $300,000 of profit up here? Okay, that's how they have to teach math now. There's no more in-person school. It's all like this. They just get a big board. 600,000, so $210,000 is 35% of my collections, which is what you would pay someone. So you take 300 and you subtract 210, and you have 90,000, and then 90,000 over 800,000 is like 12% EBITDA. But EBITDA for a solo practice, for your first practice, is not that critical. You want to know why? EBITDA is important when you're not going to be working at the practice. But when you're working at the practice, this is your owner-operated practice. So I'm sure if some accountant's going to listen to this in the year 2023, or some multi-practice owner is going to disagree with me on the importance of EBITDA for solo practices. It's like this, I don't know, it's like maintaining a tooth versus removing it. This is my feelings. But what I would share is always look for help from a dental focused attorney, because that was my version of saying the endodontist is likely going to find MB2. Most of the time there's MB2. But if you really want to know, talk to the endodontist. If you really want to know how important it is, talk to the dental focused accountant. Our practices, that was P&L one. So you're really looking at net profit prior to dentist. I mean, net profit is, when you say the net profit of the practice includes the dentist compensation. That's basically the best way to put it. Net profit, by this practice, I make $300,000 a year. That's what I make, $300,000 a year. Our practice is selling for this year's revenue or last year's because there's a big change in numbers. Outstanding question. Nobody's come up with a good answer to this yet. Some banks are lending at the full value pre-COVID if the seller's back to 80% of collections. Some banks are being very aggressive in lending as is. You're buying an asset that you have to use for the rest of your life. It's very important to be cautious during a pandemic. It was important to be cautious prior to a pandemic. But what's going to happen in December, January, and February, I don't know. My best advice is for you to be incredibly cautious and not rush into a practice purchase at this time. If you ask me, anyone see the movie Fight Club? Okay, one of my favorite movies too. If you ask me what I would sell my own practice for, I would not know. If I used the numerics pre-COVID, it would be at this level. What I would pay for it wouldn't be at this level right now because I don't know what it's coming back to. So this is a really important time to rely on your dental-focused accountant, dental-focused attorney. I can help you as well in the initial LOEPA buyer coaching session. Am I seeing more earnouts due to the uncertainty from COVID? I've definitely heard about more earnouts. I don't know if this is, I know we have all dentists of all ages and stages watching on here. I don't know. I'm just going to be JBR. I'm a JBN guy. Just be nice. Don't fight over PFM versus zirconia. Don't tell someone they're a terrible dentist. They don't get 10 points of inclusion on occlusal composite. That's JBN. Just be real as this. I haven't heard of many things closing at this time from my world of buying practices, selling practices, and buyer coaching. There's stuff on the way. There's stuff planned for September and October. There's deals that I had supposed to close in April that I hope close in October 31st. But right now we're still in this pause mode. Earnouts will likely part. What is an earnout? I want to sell my practice for $500,000. The bank might give me $300,000. I'm going to pay the seller $200,000 over the next 5 years. It's not 100% financing down. If you're a seller and you can work more, get your practice back up. If you're a seller who had your golf clubs over your shoulder on the way to Arizona, and now you have to go back to the office, you might have to take less money. This is where the people part comes in. Someone else, if you are, I'll put this on here because I'm trying to do this so people could listen to or watch this at any time afterwards. So if you want to, I'm going to show you, but if you want to make it easy on my sandwich board, I call them hopes and dreams. I call them treatment planning your hopes and dreams. You just text hopes, Julie can put this in the chat, to 215-543-6454. Just text hopes and get how to do a buyer coaching session. They're fun. I usually make you either feel really good about what you're doing, asking some good questions, getting you on the right track. I love doing them. They're not a huge investment. They also come with a year of Nacho Flicks. You get a bonus. You get a whole year of Nacho Flicks. So just text hopes to 215-543-6454. Now, so Mrs. Nacho does not kill me. I'm going to only spend about another 5 minutes here. I'm going to show you a little more of the video, and then we'll wrap up here. If you guys have some questions, you can still drop them in the chat.
Dr. Guac's practice makes $1 million a year. Dr. Nacho's practice collects $1 million a year. Both collect $1 million. Dr. Guac has $300,000 in profit. Dr. Nacho has $400,000. Do you want to pay the same for both of those practices? Now that you've learned that net profit is the key factor in determining the value of a practice, you would say no. But if you use percentage of collections, they would be equal. So that right there is an incredibly important tip for the process of buying a practice, to base it on profit, not asking price. Now, these are opportunities to purchase a business for the rest of your life. There's really no such thing as overpaying. That's a judgment. That's emotional. Overpaying. I overpaid, or it's overpriced. The broker's job is to get the best price possible for the seller. If I have 5 interested buyers in a dental practice, I'm going to be able to have a bidding war. If I have 1 interested buyer, I won't have that bidding war. Your job as the buyer is to make the best offer possible. Make the best offer possible after you've consulted with your team. Now let's get back to people. Who are some of the people that should be on your team? People that would be on your team: a dental-focused accountant, a dental-focused attorney, a financial planner, possibly a buyer coach. One of the things that I do when I am not a broker for the seller is I will be a buyer coach on a totally separate deal. I will help a buyer evaluate a practice, see if it makes sense before they start to engage numerous advisors. Think of what I do and what other people do in this industry, like the dentist that does the LOE PA. Take a look at the tooth, decide if it makes sense to refer to an oral surgeon, a periodontist, an endodontist, give our patient an assessment of the restorability. How many times, if you're a dentist listening to this, has a patient maybe gone to an endodontist, come back with a root canal, and you said, oh man, this tooth is not even restorable. What are we going to do now? And it really wasn't the endodontist's job to determine restorability. So the beginning part of looking at a practice is a lot about the story. One of the nacho tips that we'll give you now, so we talked about how to burn your nachos, work with a dual representation broker. Think that the price of the practice or the value of the practice is based on 60 to 70% of collections, when it should be based on net profit. Another aspect of this is the why. Why is the seller selling?
Okay, so that's a great point to wrap up with some questions. There's a really good question of, are 50% of patients lost during a transition? That's a really high number. So 50% are lost, that's a problem. That you're doing due diligence, doing your buyer coaching sessions, looking at things, getting to know the seller, it should be much less than 50%. I want to just see, we have one thing here. So 50% is too high. You want to look for deals where you would retain more than 50%. When people ask for percentages, it's tough. What I would share is it's more, my other screen here. It's more about if the patients live far away from the practice, they sometimes do not stay with you after it transitions because they look for a dentist closer to home. So a zip code search can be important. A lot of patients are coming from far away. Those are the patients that may not stay with you. Okay. And we wrapped up here on the why. Why is important. If we do a buyer coaching session, if we talk about your practice, we might do 1 session, 4 sessions. I'm going to continue get you back to why is this person selling? If it's a weird why, you have to be on alert. If it's a 45-year-old who's just going to stop practicing, why is that the case? Is it an injury? That's something that's reasonable. Are they practice not working out, but they're not moving away? Are they going to open up down the street? That could be a problem. The why, if there's a weird why. What's not a weird why? I'm 65 years old. I want to retire. Sell you my practice, work for 6 months. Normal why. What's a why? I'm 70 years old. I like my practice, but it's time to retire. Normal why. Normal circle of dentisting life are normal whys. If there's a weird why, dig into it. Oh, this is a practice I bought with a friend from dental school. It's a great practice, but we never really got it up and running. But we have a great team, things like that. Weird whys deserve extra caution. Let me just see if there was anything else you guys had in the question here. You guys did great. What's the best way to analyze the demographics? There's definitely some services that you can utilize for that. I think ones like Dento Demographics. I'm a member of Mark Casas Dental Success Institute. He's an awesome guy. He has one. If you email dental demographics research to salsa@dentalnachos.com, I'll connect you with some. There shouldn't be a tremendous amount of demographic research for acquisitions. Not none. If a big company's leaving, but when you're acquiring a practice, you're talking and saying, is this the town? Is this the place I want to acquire this practice? The demographics study for a startup is a whole different thing. Jamie Amos is a friend of mine. He's a sponsor. I've met him many times. He's a very, 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 very positive guy. Ideal Practice does a lot of cool startup stuff. There's someone who I'd recommend you guys connecting with on that. And if the seller owns the real estate, how should you navigate this? Is it best to purchase the real estate? Let's leave real estate to our next thing. My quick answer is, when you can buy it, if you have the money, always buy it. It makes things a lot easier. It's a great asset to have. The challenging part is you have to bring 20% down for real estate. And if it's a $500,000 building, that means you have to have $100,000 to put on the real estate. That may be a challenging thing to do. So if you could throw some more questions in the chat, I can try to answer them in the chat. This is going to end segment 1, how to buy a dental practice without burning your nachos. You guys did awesome. We went over a lot of great stuff, a lot of great questions. We're going to have more of these segments. My text community is my favorite thing to communicate with. I have my phone on me at all times. All of these ways to get into the text community. I send talking tips, I send prizes, things like that. If you want to learn about the treatment plan of your hopes and dreams, just text HOPES to 215-543-6454. You also get some information in this video. Our team will be back tomorrow to answer some of those, but I really appreciate you guys watching in. I will attempt to answer a few questions before we wrap up here, but have a great rest of the night. If you need me for any reason, Dr. Nacho at dentalnachos.com, DrNacho at dentalnachos.com. Text anything you want to 215-543-6454, or just visit our website, dentalnachos.com. Have a great rest of the day, guys, or rest of the evening, guys.
Are you a dentist that has hopes and dreams? Owning a practice, hiring an associate, finding a good job, and most of all, crying less on the inside each day? My name is Paul, Dr. Nacho, and I can help you with those hopes and dreams. As a dentist, I treatment plan dental implants to help patients chew and smile with confidence. As Dr. Nacho, which I think is a real doctor and should be, I help dentists treatment plan their hopes and dreams, figure out how to get to the next step in their career. What makes sense now? What makes sense later? A lot of times this is about buying a practice, hiring an associate, bringing on a partner, moving, not moving, hiring an office manager, all the things they didn't teach us in dental school. So our treatment planning, your dentisting hopes and dreams calls are some of my favorite things to do. They're fun, they're easy, and super reasonably priced. To reach out to us to learn about your treatment planning, your hopes and dreams call, you can do it in a few ways. One, you can text or call 267-896-4886, and Ariel will share with you how you can learn more about it. You can also email salsa@dentalnachos.com or visit dentalnachos.com. I love helping dentists be more aware and prepared for their next step in dentisting. What comes with your hopes and dreams call? It's a 30-minute call, can be Zoom, can be on the phone with me. You also get a year subscription to Dental Nacho Flix, which has over 60 hours of CE, bonus nachos on patient communication, and leadership, business, practice management, and getting your team on the same page. It's an amazing platform you can use every day from your phone that comes with your treatment planning, your hopes and dreams call. And most of all, my jokes, they're free. Some would say priceless. That's my aunt, but she calls them priceless. So I would love to help you. Just reach out to us at salsa@dentalnachos.com. Call or text 267-896-4886 or visit dentalnachos.com. Platform.
Daphne, I'm heading to my dental office for the day. Do you have any advice for me?
Remember, you're a dentist, so keep it crying on the inside.
Good tip.
Do you need a dentisting coach? Someone to help you get to the next level? Is this your level and you want to get to the next level? What's wrong with your level? Your level stinks. What if you think you're on the best level? There's no such thing as that. If you even think you're on the best level, that's one of the limitations of your life. You can always get to the next level. I had a client once giving 110%. That stunk. I got him to use 114%. I don't know if that's how math works, but I can help you. I had one client who was so successful, he had a private jet. After working with me, he's now like Gary Vee. He wants to buy the New York Jets. My name is Dr. Paul Goodman, and all of that is total nonsense. I am a normal dentist coach. I'm a dentist myself. I help dentists buy practices, find jobs, hire their first associate, and most of all, just be happier, less grumbly in their dentisting life. Is like if we fed Mr. Grumbly nachos. If you reach out to us at dentalnachos.com or email us at salsa@dentalnachos.com, we have so many toppings to help you build your morale, make more money, deliver better patient care, and most of all, just be happier each day. So reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. I would love to help you.